I think we did that, but
No, I don't think we did.
no, I know, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. What's today?
December 13th.
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 Okay, this is the Town of Nantucket Board of Appeals meeting, Thursday, December 13th, 2018. Can I get an approval of the agenda as written? Michael makes a motion. Karam seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of the minutes. I wasn't here on October 11th, so does anybody want to make a motion that to approve the minutes as written? Did anybody read them?
I didn't see any errors.
No errors?
I didn't see any errors.
All right, there's several here that didn't read them, so can we put those off?
We put them off last month because there was correction, right? And people haven't read them. So by the same token, it's not good policy to do that, but if you haven't read them, you can't really approve them.
Did 5 people read them? Like I said, I wasn't there, so I didn't read them. Didn't feel it would be helpful.
Yeah, I looked at them. They looked fine.
Yeah, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't find any errors, so we're only 2.
I mean, let's just. Everybody normally sort of has to read. If you don't find a lot of time to read the minutes, if you just read what is attributed to you. So if we could all make a little effort to do that, that would be great. So, having said that, should we table October 11th, 2018?
Sure.
For now? All right. What about November 8th, 2018? I read those. They look fine.
Fine.
Susan? Lisa?
Yep, I said fine.
Okay, well, somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All right, so to approve the November 8th, 2018 minutes as written. Motion's been made, seconded. Any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
You want me to go see if Jim's on his way?
did he?
He's sitting on the first matter, which we are postponing, but
Sure.
We're postponing that.
I got an email about 5 minutes before leaving. I will paraphrase it that
We said we weren't going to postpone this one anymore.
okay.
Deadline's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the 19th.
Well, let's wait to Jan. Well, I'll tell you what it says.
Yeah, because I thought they were so close. They had the agreement, and it was just a question of signing it. And all we wanted to see was the agreement.
Right. Is Arthur here?
Interesting. Good thing you didn't.
Well, anyway, for some reason I can't find it. It doesn't matter. It basically says they have an agreement, but I don't think the money's changed hands, so they don't want to sign the agreement.
That makes sense.
So,
And we said we wanted the agreement.
And
we could have the financial part redacted. But
Yeah, we probably shouldn't talk about it
Okay.
until we are talking about it. So we'll take a break. Is that okay?
it's fine with me. I'm just wondering if just by chance, is anyone available to give us an extension?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
for the one that we may not open today.
Yeah.
I
Well,
did email the attorney for the applicant and sent him an extension form.
All right, let's do this. Let's push this one off for a brief moment, see if anybody shows up. Does that work?
Sure.
He's not going to come before the end of the meeting at best. He's waiting to hear back from his client.
Right. Okay.
Who
So,
is he?
Mr. Cohen.
Mr. Cohen.
Okay.
So we're not going to open 1918 right now.
Okay.
So we're moving on to 2318.
You can open that because Mark and Jeff were at the table the one time that we did open and have a hearing on it.
This was a long time ago.
Yeah, who's sitting on that?
Well,
We're not sure.
you were not here. Yeah. Okay. So 2318, Adam Ross and Emma Ross, 50 Okara Avenue, for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rick Bodette for the applicants, Adam and Emma Ross. I think I was here in June or July, so it's been a while. Do you, Mr. Chairman, you want me to give order?
I think you
I think
should.
you should, yeah.
So just to refresh your recollection, this is, we're here seeking a rescission of the variance that was granted by this board in 2012. This is a lot that is in the Lug 1 zoning district. It complies in all respects to the zoning bylaw. It was previously, the issue stems from, it was previously a pre-existing non-conforming lot that the town owned. And at some point, I think in 2011 or 10, the town, as part of its yard sale program, took all the roads around this property. The effect of that, with an eye, of course, towards selling the roadways off to the neighbors, as they always do. The problem that was created is when they did that, because this was a pre-existing non-conforming lot, all those roads immediately merged for zoning purposes with this property and anything else touching those roads. So that was undersized and vacant. So to remedy that, the town wanted to sell the yard sale parcels. They also wanted to sell this lot for market value. So to remedy that, Andrew Borst came into this board, was sought and was granted a variance to allow the lot that was left over to be, or that was finally created, to be a pre-existing non-conforming lot, to bless it and be sold separately from all other parcels. There was a condition in that variance as well that there wouldn't be any building behind a certain point. That's the restricted area that I have in my application. You might also remember we had a long discussion last time I was here about there is also a deed restriction on this property that the town restricted for the benefit of itself along the same lines, that there wouldn't be any building behind this certain point in this certain area of the lot. So we also have to seek a release of that restriction from the Board of Selectmen. You might remember a lot of the members wanted to hear from the selectmen, wanted to hear what the selectmen would do before you would really consider whether you would grant rescission of this variance to us. So we have applied to the Board of Selectmen for a limited release of this restriction, just a corner so that my client can add a garage to the property. And I might add, this is a very important point that I forgot to mention, is that, of course, in 2017, the property went from Lug 2 to Lug 1. So that's why it complies in all respects now. At the time the variance was granted, it was in Lug 2, it was undersized, of course. It was limited in ground cover. With the change to Lug 1, my client all of a sudden has ground cover that he didn't have a year ago, and that's why he'd like to have this release. So as I was saying, we did apply to the Select Board to get a limited release of this restriction. Again, just a corner so that he could build a garage. They have indicated that they won't even be able to hear it, it sounds like, until January. So Eleanor asked me to come in. I was going to continue it, but Eleanor asked me to come in and ask again for the rescission. Again, given that, as I said in June, last time I was here, that it's in Lug 1 now, it complies. It's moot, particularly given that we have to go to the Select Board anyway to make any change here. So we'd ask that you rescind the variance.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple quick questions. You said you were seeking a limited release. Is that's different than before?
Yeah, well, I'm seeking a release from this board. So no, it isn't different.
Oh, so you're going to seek a limited release from the selectmen?
Yes.
Okay.
Where's the plan that shows where the garage is going? We
I
had it at
I
one
didn't
point.
even submit it to you. But
Yeah, because
Okay.
net it
copies.
doesn't. He's not asking
know.
for the limited
I
release
know,
from
but I
us.
just remember.
But if you want to see it,
Why
I
is
have
it? But it's written in our
many copies
decision,
for you.
isn't it?
What's that?
Gosh. It says, the Board of Appeals by unanimous vote grants the relief of a variance in order to allow the applicant to divide the existing lot into a separately marketable buildable lot and dispose of the parcel lot as part of the town yard sale program as shown on the plan entitled Plot Plan to Accompany ZB Application. Blah, 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 dated January 10th, 2012, attached hereto as Exhibit A with the condition that the shaded area in the attached Exhibit A remain minimally undisturbed and remain as a green barrier that will contain no structures. So that's in our decision.
Yeah, right.
So why does the release come from the selectmen?
Well, I think you want to field that one? Why are the selectmen
Question, why does
involved?
the select board have to?
Yeah,
Because there's both. There's a variance
Right.
that has a condition in it that doesn't allow structures.
Right.
And there's also a deed restriction that was placed on the property that says the same thing, essentially. You can't build anything back there.
to the benefit of the town, and that's why they have to
It's the
release it.
benefit. It runs, the
Wasn't-
enforcement ability runs to the town, yeah.
And I think, Lisa, I don't recall exactly, but I'm guessing that the reason, I'm not sure why we would have imposed that. I think Andrew offered that up in the conversation. Or maybe had to do with the neighbors
Right,
who
well,
we're
that's
going to
my
hear from
question,
in a
yeah.
minute. But it was all part and parcel. So, I mean, I remain interested in hearing or what the selectmen have to say.
Well, I'd like to hear why it was placed on.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think if it was placed on because of discussion with neighbors.
Yeah.
It seems hard to just remove it.
I agree. Not that I can't hear you, but
Oh,
try to talk into the mic just because we're on the tape.
sorry.
It's okay.
You're very critical.
I'm not critical. I'm not being critical. I just
I'm
know
just
that people are watching. A lot of people
A
out
lot of
there.
people are watching.
So
us.
anybody, is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak to them? Well, we'll go in order.
Yes, Sarah Alger, for the abutters, the McKay family. I was confused when I heard that they were going forward on this application today because what I heard in June was this board say that they wanted to see what the selectmen were going to do on a restriction release. And yet that hasn't happened yet. And now I gather it's happening in January. I haven't seen the application, so I don't know what's been asked for and what the limited release is. But in terms of the full release from this board, this restriction is extremely important to my clients. They negotiated, as I understand it, and they can speak to this as well, they negotiated this restriction as part of the deal back at the time that this lot got the variance and was allowed to be built upon. It was a critical component to their supporting the application, allowing the variance to go through, which in turn allowed Mr. Baudette's clients to buy the property, build on it, and enjoy it for these 5 or 6 years until the zoning changed, making it conforming. We are concerned about the request for the release because we don't really understand why the garage has to go in this shaded restricted area. There's ample land elsewhere on the property for a garage to be constructed. And it's going to have a significant, if constructed, have a significant impact on the McKay privacy and property and enjoyment of their homes. And, they just feel like they were good citizens and negotiated something, and now it's being taken away from them, and they object to that happening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm Peter McKay. I live at 25 Montahansett Road with my brother Dave at 21 Montahansett Road, right abutting the Rosses. We've both been there for over 30 years. When the town wanted to, I think the term was yard sale, wanted to be able to use this land, they came to us and said, would you mind? We said, sure. With the understanding with Andrew Vorse that since the lot is so close to us, have the properties built on the area farther away. And that's where the restriction got put in, to provide just a little bit of a buffer between us and the dwelling that was going to be built. So that was our plan. Fast forward to 2017. For those that were at the town meeting at that point in time, rezoning was rejected until this one came up. I stood up and spoke. And given, I'm going to say this as modestly as I can, some recognition of who I am and what I've been doing and being an honest person, I spoke for it. Give the change from lug 2 to lug 1 for all the right reasons. So in the good neighbor capacity, I was continuing to assist. I don't care if he builds another building. The singular point of this vacating, if I understand it, and I don't know the laws of the town as well as you guys do, it seems strictly and solely to be able to get to the selectmen, to be able to ask them one more time to remove this restriction. He has, as Sarah mentioned, more than ample space to build this garage. He just wants to build the garage behind his house right next to us. That's as plain as can be. And so using legal workings with which to be able to get out of this variance so he can go to the selectmen to ask for them to remove the restriction, which doesn't need to be removed, because it was put there in good faith, not saying you can't build, but just allow a little bit of space so we can have some privacy. So now we have this coming on yet a second time with what seems to me a bit of trickery to be able to accept a variance, which he's got the room to build, but he doesn't want to build it in front of his house. He wants to build it behind his house in front of us. Come on.
Thank you.
I'd be curious to know what's so magical about the back of the property.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
you know,
speaking
this
to the
isn't
mic.
legal wizardry here. There's nothing tricky going on, you know? I mean, I told you last time. We have a variance on the property, we're asking for a rescission. We know we need to go to the select board, and we want to go, and we have applied to the select board. You know, we're just trying to do this in good faith as well. I mean, there's nothing hidden here. There's a septic system on one side of the lot, and there's geothermals on the other side of the front. That's why the garage doesn't work there. He's built this whole house. He was maxed out on ground cover at 1,700 square feet. Never thought he'd have ground cover again. It wasn't him that brought this zoning article forward. You know, it was the neighbors, and of course he supported it, but it wasn't his idea. So now he has little ground cover, and he wants to build this garage. So there's nothing magical about the backyard. I mean, I have to tell you that I'm a little surprised they haven't seen the application at the select board. I mean, I've contacted Sarah when I heard she was representing this owner. I contacted her 3 or 4 times from the summer to the fall. First time it was, hey, do you represent him? Got a response. Second time it was, hey, anything we can do to limit this that your client might agree to. I didn't get a response. So I had my client do a sketch. Send me a sketch that I can show them so they understand this is just a garage. I sent the sketch, said, we'll screen it, we'll limit the height of it, we'll limit it to never be a dwelling if you want, whatever. The guy just wants to build a garage here. I didn't get anything, you know? So then finally I had him put it on a plan that Jeff Blackwell did, you know, to make it more official looking so we could submit to the select board as the board asked for. So we're just moving in good faith. I sent that to Sarah, didn't get a response either. So, you know, it's the applications at the Board of Selectmen's office, the select board's office. They can see it there. I mean, or, you know, Sarah can call me and ask for it. But to hear that, you know, we're kind of reaching out in good faith to have some kind of compromise so that we're not having this fight in front of you guys and hear that nothing is, you know, a garage, folks. I mean, you know, that nothing is acceptable to these people is just kind of silly when we're willing to limit it completely. So, again, there's nothing tricky going on here, folks. It's just trying to build a garage, man.
Okay. I will. How do we feel about this? I mean, we could vote on the rescission now. We can
I think
wait to see what this.
he wants to speak.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Hi, David McKay, Peter's brother. I think when we had this meeting in June or July, my wife Ann Faniff spoke at length then too. As Peter said, we have nothing in there. The only thing, it's a deed restriction that we negotiated with Andrew Vorse. So build it anywhere you want. The deed restriction is only 100 feet there. Just don't put it in the deed restriction. Build it anywhere else you like. That is the main point. I mean, that's why we had the deed restriction. We wanted a little cover there. You can build it anywhere else. That's all. We're not asking for anything either. We're saying build it, just not in that 100 feet of the deed restriction, which we negotiated in good faith with Andrew Vorse. I guess that's the main thing for me.
Thank you. Do you feel that there's any reason to get together with them to see if there's some limited? Yes or no?
Sure, I'd be happy to get together with him. Just find out where it can be built. I mean, we just want to have a little bit of a buffer when he builds.
You should come up to the mic. I'm sorry.
I have a loud voice, but anyway, when he cleared the land, he cleared it all the way up to the boundary line of us, which leaves a little bit of a buffer, which is fine. And again, I should say this isn't the end. This is not the end of the world in any capacity, but it's just a question of doing what's right. Yes, I'd be more than happy to sit down and find some sort of a compromise. But again, to me, and I don't have all the facts. I have what I can see in front of me, and I put things together pretty logically. His house faces the airport, plenty of space there. But he doesn't want it in front of his dwelling. He wants it behind him. It isn't just a garage. It's a fairly sizable garage. And If that's the case, if it's just a garage, well, then build it where there's already ample space. Why even have the discussion about the restriction? It doesn't even seem like it needs to come into play if it's just a garage. All we're doing is that. But of course I'm willing to talk. I'm always willing to talk.
All right. So how does the board feel about this?
I think we should wait until the selectmen determine what they're gonna do, if anything, with the restriction.
Okay. I just would like to give some guidance to the applicant that, I'm, even if the selectmen are going in the release direction, I'm not necessarily there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of feel like I don't know, I don't understand why he can't build it anywhere else. And maybe if there was a plan that showed why he has geo wells there, or, the septic system. I mean, if there was some documentation about that, I think I'd be interested in looking at it. I also was gonna ask the question, is it just a garage or is it a garage studio? Because that obviously changes the metrics of it a little bit. And, because I do feel that, at the time that this, even though the zoning has changed, I feel like there was some stuff negotiated in this
Absolutely.
variance for the neighbor's benefit, and I just don't feel like we should eliminate that.
I agree.
I agree.
So we could vote on it right now.
The other thing, the other option is if we give them an opportunity to talk, perhaps the solution may be that the variance isn't, or the restriction isn't removed completely, but it's it's modified down to just either just the area of the garage, or it becomes, instead of 100 feet, 75 feet, or something like that. I mean, those are.
Yeah.
I think if
Totally
the
reasonable.
neighbors are willing to talk, then
They should.
they should talk.
Right, so that's what, I agree. So, we should wait to see what the selectmen say, but but I'm not so sure would change my mind necessarily, in terms of rescinding the variance, but I do think that if they can have a conversation about it, maybe there could be some agreement that would happen.
Yeah.
Perfectly willing to have a conversation. You have an action deadline of December 14.
Right.
I
So,
just wanted to be sure you were
Let's
up
see,
on
we
that.
need to go out to February.
yeah. All right. So I'm hearing that we're willing to continue it if you want to continue it, or we can vote on it.
Yeah, no, I think my client would welcome the possibility of speaking with these neighbors, really. So,
Okay.
And etching out an area of this that's 1,000 square feet is exactly what we proposed this. So, of course, that's something that we're willing to do, and have further conditions on it if that's what the neighbors want.
1,000 square feet's a lot of space.
Well, the restriction isn't just, this little 100 square feet. I mean, it's over 12,000 square feet. That's bigger than my whole property. So,
Yeah.
it's a big restriction. I mean,
It is.
Yeah, but it's there for a reason, and it was part of the negotiated settlement that the neighbors were part of. So I think you're gonna be very hard pressed to get us to get rid of it.
It'd be interesting to see where he put his house in relation to the restriction line too. It looks
Right
like
on
he
it.
kind of put it right on it.
Right on it.
Which might not have been I don't know. So
I mean, again,
I don't
remember-
understand why it can't happen up here.
again, remember, when he built his house, there was no more ground cover. So
No,
the
I get
idea
that.
of a garage wasn't possible.
But why couldn't the garage go here?
He said that that's where his geothermal wells are. This is a house that's like a net zero house.
Well,
and
again,
he
it'd be
didn't-
helpful to have that information if that is.
I don't
in
think
fact
that's a
the case.
compelling reason though, because you can drill a new well. I
Unless
mean,
he has a closed loop system and he's got 15 of them.
oh,
Well, I
if
don't know.
it's
I'll
just
find
a-
out.
you
again,
know.
but that was a choice made by.
I know.
I'm just
But all
simply
I'm
saying
is
it.
it would be helpful for us to see that documented so that we would understand what his challenges are. Right now, we see a big open lot
Yep.
with nothing else on it, and no reason why he can't put it anywhere else.
Okay.
You guys can come to some agreement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing. I think are we all willing to continue it? Yeah. All right. So we'll but in
The select board is going to look at this, discuss this on the 30th of January. Our February meeting is on the 14th.
Oh, Valentine's Day.
How sweet.
all right, we'll do Secret Santa on Valentine's Day. I just want to be clear about the select board. The way I read this, it's a little, the select board to modify the deed restriction per the request of the ZBA. I just want to say, the request of the ZBA is not to have the select board modify it. It was simply, if they want to go talk to the selectmen, feel free. But we're not asking the select board, we're not recommending to the select board to get rid of this. So I just want that to be made clear to the select board.
Well, maybe one of us should be at the hearing on the 30th to represent the ZBA. I don't know what date, what is that, the last Wednesday?
Yeah. Works for me.
And
Yeah, I mean, I could do it.
I think that probably Sarah and I can stipulate in front of the select board without you guys, I mean, unless you guys want to go, that the zoning board did not ask for this to be released by the select board. I mean, that's clear. I mean, I wouldn't, believe me, irrespective of what it says in the minutes.
No, I'm simply saying,
stand-
I don't want to give the wrong impression
Yeah.
to the select board that we want this done, but we want them to do it first. I mean, I think the board has given you relatively clear sign that we don't, it's not that we don't care, but the select board's decision may not be governing on how we come to a decision.
I
It's,
understood.
it's
and I know you
separated
care.
from us rescinding the
Right.
variance. They could get rid of it, and then we could still say we're not gonna rescind the variance.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we're clear. I mean, and if you
Okay.
want me to say that to the select board,
I'm just curious from a legal standpoint, if, how does that work if the select board were to release their rights in the restriction, then who does it run to anymore?
well,
Doesn't,
we're not asking, so just to be clear, we're not asking the select board to release their rights in the restriction solely. We're asking them to release their rights in the current restriction and impose a new restriction that has a corner cut out of it that we've prepared and given to them and has been sent to town council. So we're not asking them to just release it.
right,
We're asking to change it. I think the better question is, how do you guys change a variance that, for something that can't be varied? I mean, that's the better legal question.
Well, I wish we had
I
a
don't know.
plan, a copy of the plan that you submitted to the selectmen. Be interested to see it.
Yeah, I brought copies so that you can see it.
Oh, great.
Again, I don't know that it's
It might not be
may or may not
relevant,
be
but
relevant to you guys.
why don't we tackle that the next
Okay,
time,
fine.
because I think we're going to continue this
Okay.
anyway.
and then maybe you can put the other information on about what his obstructions are in the front of the house.
Well, yeah, exactly, and talk to the neighbors, and maybe some equitable solution can be derived from that.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so we're continuing it arguably till February so that we do hear from the selectmen, or do we care, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Do we want to do it beyond February 14th?
Well, the extension would go beyond February
Yeah.
14th.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But
The
we
action
would,
deadline extent, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
we would continue this particular hearing,
Until February 14th.
right.
Yeah.
So is that your motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Extension would run till
March.
March.
Yeah.
Day
maybe
after
the
the
day
March
after the
meeting?
March meeting.
Yeah, so why don't we get the extension first? So we have to vote on that. So are we willing to accept an extension on the, sure.
I'm just getting what I'm going to. Just want to make sure that I'm going to be here for the meeting. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah?
It's the following week.
All right, well, we'll do the extension first of the action deadline. So that would go to March 15th,
2019.
2019. Make that motion? Michael made the motion. Who wants to second it?
I'll second it.
Lisa seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then how about continuing this public hearing to February 14th?
I'll make
make
that,
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
I'll make that motion.
Susan made the motion. Did you second that? Michael seconded it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, 4118. 4118. William F. Hunter, trustee, 281 Hummock Pond Road, nominee trust for the applicant.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Kevin Dale. I represent the applicant, Bill Hunter, trustee of the 281 Hummock Pond Nominee Trust. I was here on the 8th of November asking for a special permit for a swimming pool. Timing is everything. And at that time, the board asked us to submit a landscaping plan for the proposed pool, which we have done, and Steve Rothke is here. He can speak to the landscaping plan if you want him to. Just by way of background, it's a very large lot in the VR district, 132,217 square feet. The pool will comply with the bylaw, which requires 20-foot setbacks. And as a practical matter and legal matter, this special permit application will not be affected by the so-called proposed warrant article that's going to change zoning for pools. There were conditions that I suggested might be appropriate. I can read them again if you want me to.
Are they the same basic conditions we put on the other?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, you don't
Yes,
have,
they
I don't, do we want Kevin to read them, or do we just want to say we're going to impose those same conditions?
I'll be brief.
Okay.
Mechanicals will be housed inside a wart on the north side of the east cabana, shown on the site plan. Pool lights will comply with the town code. Applicant will engage a professional company to fill the pool as needed. Pool will not be chemically treated between November 1 and May 1. Any chemical treatment of the pool will stop at least 3 weeks before the pool is drained. If this is infeasible, the applicant will engage a professional company to discharge the pool water in a tanker and dispose of the pool water at the wastewater treatment facility. And those are the same conditions you've imposed on the so-called Nantucket pool special permits.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions about the landscaping plan? I had to find it.
166.
166? Okay.
Chairman, I have a large copy. Can't hear.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be
Helpful.
hard to read it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I looked at it. Not that it's any of my business, and it doesn't really matter, but is the erosion pretty stable? Is that right on the beach?
Pretty stable.
I hope so.
For now.
And this is bermed.
It's raised berm with natural planting.
All right.
So what, the planting is like native,
Yes.
scrubby stuff?
Did we get into plant material before?
I don't
No.
think so. I mean, it's so far away from the property line. It's
I can't even read
For the
it.
record, there's been no objection from any neighbor.
Yeah, he's 74 feet away from the property line.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to be consistent. That's all. I don't.
Well, I think in the other ones we might have just because they were closer, like maybe with the one in,
Well, it does say raised berm with natural planting,
yeah.
as opposed to what, plastic planting?
I
Or,
think
we
they mean
fig-
natural indigenous vegetation, no.
I'm sure they
Pretty
do, but I'm
linear,
just saying.
plastic.
Not invasive.
You know,
plants,
this
Mr. Chairman.
might be beyond what we normally require, but I hope you use native,
Yeah.
non-invasive.
We will use native plantings to go on the record.
From what
If indigenous
what period of time are we talking native? Because I think.
Excuse me?
Never mind. The whole notion of native today as opposed to.
Privet's not native.
No,
No, I know privet's not native, but
I think
You know,
it's
when
pretty clear.
is native the plants that first sprouted after the glacier,
No,
or
it's native what you
No,
see in the
think-
landscape now,
Yeah, I
the natural
think it's
landscape.
pretty clear. I think
it's not that clear to me? But we don't have to parse it on this one.
I'll make a motion to grant
I mean,
approval.
because you could make the argument that scrub oak is native, but they're trying to wipe that out in the
Yeah, sure. I
Serengeti
mean,
because
we-
it's not grass.
we did have a lot
Grasslands.
of hardwood trees up until
Yeah, well,
the
this-
1800s.
Yeah,
Oaks and
I'm just saying it's a pretty hard thing. Anyway,
which we would love.
have at it.
I made a motion to grant the relief.
Okay.
What about public?
Oh, public.
Public, anybody want to talk about this one? No. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Kieran. So why don't the 5 regular members vote on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks.
May I specify to grant the relief as requested, subject to the conditions as
Yes.
Yes.
generated by attorney?
The typical ones that we have put in the.
And if he omitted anything,
Shame on you.
well, no,
I'll draft a timely decision. I'll make sure
Please,
all the
sir.
conditions are met.
please. I have to say, this is an aside, but I was cleaning out my basement the other day and came across some VCR tapes, and we popped it in to look. And there was Mr. Dale at a party for my wedding. You looked exactly the same, Kevin. Oh, my God. And Mr. Poor was in there. I'm sure Mr. O'Mara was, too.
What's
But
in your what's in your water square? that
I'm
you
drinking,
identified for that?
yeah, tincture.
Yeah.
You still have a VCR?
Yeah, can you believe it?
She's
I don't
still
even
in
have a
shock.
way to play DVDs. Like,
It's an old TV. That's one of the things. Anyway, it was really funny. Okay, moving on.
yeah.
Sorry.
Moving on.
What's next? New business? Oh, I'm not sitting on Sanctity. So, Susan, you want to take over? Oh,
Sure.
right? That next? Yeah.
Did we do the first one
Which-
in the old business?
Oh,
Go
well,
back to.
Right, 'cause- oh, are we gonna wait?
Where he specifically requested push it to the very end of the meeting,
Okay.
Okay,
which is fine.
okay,
and I will get an email from him if he's not coming at all, and he'll know by then.
okay. So this application is 45-18, Sankaty Head Golf Club, 100 Sankaty Road, Kevin Dale representing.
Madam Acting Chairman, members of the board, Kevin Dale for Sankaty Head Golf Club. This is an application for a modification of existing special permit and variances to allow for a small restroom to be constructed and used on the 13th hole fairway of the golf club near the caddy camp. Just as an aside, I want to introduce the board to John Cowden, who's the new general manager of Sankaty. And he's come on board, and we're looking forward to a good year and future years with him. In any event, we've been before the board, Sankaty Head Golf Club, on a number of occasions for special permit relief to expand the caddy camp, to construct employee cottages, to construct dormitories, and we've met the test for special permit relief and variance relief each time. Just by way of background and as a practical matter, this is a very large lot, 126 acres. It's non-conforming because it has a number of residences on it, not only the caddy camp, but, 4 employee cottages, dormitories, et cetera. And as you know, only 2 dwellings are allowed as a matter of right on one lot. So this is non-conforming in that respect, and it's non-conforming in other respects. This is a very small, unisex, 142 square foot bathroom. Just by way of background, some of the members were concerned that although there is a restroom on the front 9 holes, on the 6th hole, there is no restroom on the back 9 holes. And this is especially inconvenient for elderly people and women. So the club board of governors voted to pay for and construct this restroom, and we're here asking you to modify the special permit that exists to allow us to do so. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone on the board have any questions about this one?
I don't.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about this one?
So is this, I don't know the course layout, but there's no turn at the clubhouse?
There's a turn at the clubhouse, and then you go out the 10th hole, which is a rather long hole, turn left onto the 11th hole, another long hole, and then turn right on the 12th hole and end up at the 13th hole. So you're probably, I'd say, a good half mile or more from the clubhouse when you get out there. By the way, this proposed restroom will be connected to the existing new septic system that services the caddy camp. So we don't have to put in another septic system here.
I don't have any problem with
Yeah,
it.
me neither. Does anyone want to make a motion on this one?
Make a motion to approve the application.
I did ask you,
requested.
yes.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so voting,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
If I may, after the vote, just for the record, the HDC has approved the restroom, and I'll provide Eleanor with the COA number 71502.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we get those guys back in?
Yeah.
Michael's hanging out in the corner.
Oh, there's Michael. Is Sarah out there too?
Yeah, she's supposed to be on this. He mentioned he has it.
I know.
I can't imagine this one. It's a trophy. Has a second floor.
Okay, 4618 TLJ Properties LLC, 18's Gladlands Avenue, for the applicant.
Yes, Sarah Alger for the applicant. I want to give you these full-size plans, just because I think maybe they'll be easier for you to look at.
I don't know, the building's simple. I don't need
The buildings are pretty simple. If you want a full-size plan, I know sometimes,
I don't need one.
This is the cabana issue.
I'll take one, what the heck? Because we asked for them, so I want, and now I don't want Sarah to think that we asked.
I like
And
having, well, we always do now.
Every time I put down a small plan,
some of us are,
as if people say, well, we can't see anything on these small plans.
No.
this happens to be a fairly simple one. It's usually on the much more complicated ones.
I know.
We get the plan that is microscopic.
Like on something.
Did you take one?
Yeah.
No. I'll take one, Sarah. Sorry, I thought Mark had. I was looking at it.
You don't know that.
Do you have any more?
So I have to say, I'm really not happy about being here on this application because in the 35 years that I've been doing this, I don't think, at least I can't ever remember bringing an application to have a decision of the zoning enforcement officer overturned. And it does not make me happy to have brought this application. It wasn't done lightly, but everyone makes mistakes from time to time, and I just feel that in this case, the zoning enforcement officer was in error in making the determination that he did. What we have here are two sort of I mean, I call them pods, but they're really like small shed structures. And they're attached by a roof that's unenclosed on two sides. The zoning bylaw says, in terms of ground cover, in 139.2, that ground cover is excluding, for instance, unenclosed porches, unenclosed roof overhangs and connectors, etc. If this isn't an unenclosed roofed connector, I don't know what an unenclosed roof connector looks like. This is a roof. It's a roof. It's connecting two structures, and it's unenclosed. Underneath it, there's no structure underneath it. Underneath it is bluestone patio, just like there is bluestone patio surrounding the pool area. In any case, the decision was made at the time that the permit was issued to deem the entire footprint of the structure, including the footprint covered by the unenclosed roofed connector, as ground cover. And I think that that was an error.
Excuse me, could you repeat what you just said, the last sentence?
Exactly, probably not, but
Close enough.
so when the permit was issued, it was issued with the entire footprint of the structure, including the area underneath the unenclosed roof connector, considered as ground cover. And I believe that that was an error.
Okay. It was included by the applicant or the?
By the zoning enforcement.
Okay.
The applicant, yeah, to back up, I did give you the copies of the permit applications and everything. The applicant applied using as ground cover the ground cover of the two pods, but excluding the area under the unenclosed roofed connector. And when the permit issued, and this letter was issued by the zoning enforcement officer indicating that the entire structure was being considered as ground cover.
Okay. Is that it?
I really think that's it.
Okay. Do we have questions for Sarah, or do we want to hear from Marcus as to?
I just had
ahead.
one question regarding future development. I'm assuming that the benefit by getting granted the relief under the ground cover or unenclosed porch rule gives the applicant the opportunity to construct another structure on the lot, and that's
Correct. The applicant is proposing, and it's shown on the plans, that he has a proposed garage of about 650 square feet.
all right.
Yes. So, and I gave you all the ground cover calculations. I think on Jeff Blackwell's plan, the lot is 80,008 square feet.
80,150, according to the permit application.
Okay.
This one says 80,000.
It's 80,008 on the,
Is this building built?
I believe it is under construction.
So the applicant accepted the ZEO's interpretation at the time, and
No. No,
Well,
we
he-
filed immediately. We had to file within 30 days of the decision, so we filed immediately.
and even though you were filing, he went forward with building it.
I don't
Under
know
his
that
own
he's,
risk.
no, I don't think he's building the roofed connector, but he's working on the property currently.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay,
Yeah.
not that
Asking about
senior.
the status of the building itself, so.
Right, I mean,
not-
if he's denied, he won't be able to build his garage, or
He
he'll
has
have
to redo the
to
roof.
take off the roof.
Yeah,
Right.
so the roof is built.
I don't think it is built,
Okay.
no.
So he'll have to revisit his design
Potentially, okay.
potentially.
But no,
Okay.
this decision came out and we appealed within the required 30 days.
Okay. I'd like to hear from Marcus. We've seen a couple of these. And the bylaw changed. It still seems pretty vague to me, but it did change. They're not in there.
They're not in here?
Oh, they were in the email.
Yeah, they were in the
One we denied. I think
Both denied.
both were denied.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, Eleanor had brought both of those up before it came over here.
Yeah, yeah.
Primrose was one.
Yeah.
That was approved as a 192 square foot cabana. I don't recall that being here. I'm not sure if I was aware of that one or not. It was approved in CO as a 192 square foot cabana. I don't know what they originally asked for, but the 30 Eel Point, best I can tell, they've just let that. It's going to be subject of enforcement action because there's no COs on anything there. I speculate they're just running out of clock. Oh, okay.
thank you, Terry.
And introduce myself, no less. Marcus Silverstein, zoning enforcement officer.
Is that on?
This really comes down to whether or not we're talking about two standalone structures connected by a roof, or we're talking about a cabana, which is the name that has been given to it in the singular as a single structure. You see the design there of the architectural features. I have a copy of the rest of it. I don't have, other than you all telling me this is two structures attached by a roof, I cannot see it as anything other than one structure. On one slab, constructed on slab, with one roof structure. Without the roof, what you have is a roofless bathroom and a roofless changing area.
And they're both ground coverage, right? Neither one of those is counting as a zoning shed.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Right. And, well, that's another, a whole nother topic because.
Can we have that,
zoning
please?
sheds, absolutely. I only have the one.
Yep.
Does everybody see that?
Zoning sheds are supposed to be detached.
I'm gonna pass it down there.
Right. We're not considering this a
Right.
zoning
No, I
shed.
understand. I was just
So
asking the
it's either
question.
78 square feet for the two pods connected to by a roof, or it's a cabana with no doors.
I don't know.
It's got one roof
I
system,
have to say,
one slab.
I hate to say this, but I think it's a building. It's not two separate things connected by a roof.
Because the slab, I think that.
I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, it has two door openings with one huge roof over it. It has, I mean, if I were to make this look like it was two separate buildings, the wall behind the wet bar wouldn't be there. There'd be posts at the front edge. And then, you know, it'd be much more open.
Can I ask,
I'm on the same.
can I ask a question, though? There isn't anything that says that it has to be two separate structures. That isn't what the exclusion from
But
ground,
this is not the intent of that bylaw, is not to
from
build a
ground-
building like this.
I don't think Lisa's saying that it's two separate. It's one structure, not two.
no, but she was saying if it was two structures, it would make a difference
Well,
to
no,
her.
but if you had, say, I mean, and it wouldn't work with this because these pods are way too small. You know, if you had a 20 by 20 and a 20 by 20, and then within the same width of that 20 feet, you had a roof that connected them that way, maybe that's arguable, but this is larger than the two pods. It's creating more floor space.
But it
and
isn't
it has
floor
solid
space, it's gonna
walls.
be patio, it's got blue
It has
stone
solid walls
patio.
on two sides.
It reminds me very much of the one that we went out and looked at Eel Point.
Yeah.
Like, and that one actually was open on the sides too, because when you walked in, there was like the fireplace or something, and then it had the kitchen and the bath, or the wet bar in the bathroom. But I agree. I think if it was just a connector over the two pieces, then that would be fine. But there's this added space that's.
What's the tell me what the added space, I
It's
don't
just where the
understand,
wet
I'll show
bar
you.
is.
because I don't understand, I
Okay,
don't.
come here. I'll show you what
where
I.
the wet bar is.
Lisa and I pretty much separately marked out the exact same thing. Like this whole situation here, and then you've got these this creates
walls.
a corner, like interior space.
If it was only this wide, Sarah, and
Yeah.
this was the connector, I could
Yeah,
buy
that's
it.
totally. This part's okay. It's this other
the
part's
column
back
in the
here with
corners
the wet bar.
Yeah, the columns in the corners, you know, it's a building. It's got doors on
So if
it.
we eliminate this back piece, and
Yeah.
just have these pieces, then
I
that
don't
works.
think you'd be here. I think Marcus probably wouldn't have a problem with that.
Well, the other question I have is the
let's,
flag.
let's not go there, Susan.
I'm just sorry.
Let's-
I don't mean to speak for Marcus. I
Yeah,
just,
please.
Because the other
It offers
question
some,
is,
at least how I would view this, and hopefully we will start getting away from putting loose and undefined
Terms in the bylaw,
bylaw.
yeah, we really hope.
you're refreshing.
But neither one of these, connector would be, you have your secondary dwelling and you have, essentially it would be an open breezeway, which
Right.
we rarely see. That would be the roofed connector between two structures.
like the one that's by the roundabout, the house that has all the ducks in the front, that has a connector between the garage. And,
Probably.
On Fairground. Yes.
Yeah, if it smells and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Well,
And this is a building.
and you're connecting. I mean, connecting means it's connecting two things. This is
One
connecting two
huge
things.
roof covering this entire
This
thing.
that's not. This isn't connecting anything. This is just. This is connecting the two
Right, and
things.
that's the area that's being counted, is the area in here, right, Marcus?
The
No, this-
entire footprint.
Okay,
Corner to corner.
so if we took off this piece, is that what you're saying?
Took out the
Well,
the
he's
wall,
not saying
my
he's-
impression,
He's
if you
not.
took out
He's
the
not.
exterior walls and put in columns, it would be completely open.
Yeah, I mean, you have
That
door
would be my
frames that like
impression.
are just ripe to put doors
column to
into.
column.
I
in the
don't intend to.
corners.
And, you know, I have to tell you, when I talked to, the Plus Department, not to Marcus, but before this happened, they said, oh, this is why we put in the connector piece, was to address situations like this.
Well,
Right.
To address the situation on Eel Point.
this is crazy. Though.
No, I don't
Yeah,
believe that.
I don't
mean,
agree
I
with the
agree,
Plus
I agree
Department,
with the
though.
rest of the board, the way we, it's
I'm
consistent
with
with
Lisa
how we
on
rule,
the-
but
on
I
the
thought that
concept if
technical
it's-
amendment
Those walls
was
were
put in
removed
to
or made
address
into
it, not
even
by
half
us.
walls
We
or.
agree.
I would
Not
go
even
with
half
that.
Well, it depends on your
Half wall for-
definition.
if
Let's
they're
not
gonna
all
put the
talk at the
sink in.
same time. I think it depends on your definition of what is a connector. This looks more like
This is a building.
one roof.
It's one roof.
I'm just saying.
It's always one roof when you connect structures.
No, no,
No,
no, no, no.
no, that's not. No.
A connector is, as I think, in the eyes of what we're trying to, what we believe a connector is something that's like a breezeway or something like that. It's not one large roof that gives you more under roof area with walls all the way around it. So if you were to make all these columns,
Right,
cut out the side,
right.
have a post there, and cut out this side and have a post there, then I say, and then this is open, then it feels a little bit more like a,
Still can't be one giant roof, right?
Yeah, I think
Why
it
can't it be?
I think it can.
I think you can have a giant roof, because I've seen pool cabanas where the cabana is that, and then you have porches that wrap it. But they're open. There are no walls. These are all porches. These are all columns. And that, I think, is,
So even if the back section was counted as ground cover, it's still half of what Marcus is realizing is ground cover now.
Right.
And when you take that into account for the garage, you may not have 640 square feet to build the garage anymore, but you got 580 square feet to build a garage. So, I
There's
mean-
probably a solution there.
So Marcus, what's
Yeah.
your position then? Because I guess I misunderstood. Like,
Well,
so
I
you
mean-
believe, so your definition of what a connector is not, if it was just this.
You know, this is all integrated into
Yeah.
one
Right.
solid mass.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
Like if it was just
I
this.
don't want to get into designing things, but
No, but,
if this was a standalone structure and that was a standalone structure and there was something connecting them,
just a roof.
Like a roof line.
okay.
Pergola or some other feature.
Well,
Personally,
don't, yeah,
I'm
we
not
can't put,
comfortable with the
Okay.
whole-
we can't put Marcus on the spot
No, no, but-
on the redesign idea.
could
No,
we-
no, that's not what I'm trying to do. I just want to make sure that, I mean, he's a zoning enforcement officer. I want to make sure that I'm in line, like, I understand what your position is,
So I
so.
can show it to my
I
four clients, you're
understand.
even allowed it in the room.
Very difficult.
I don't come up with that.
I
This is what
I
told
think
you.
Matt McEachran can come up with
There
that
are
on
a
his
lot
own.
more minds out
I
there
mean,
coming
it's
up with
basic.
Yeah, don't-
permutations
I don't
and
wanna
stuff.
I
give
know,
it to
but
you.
let me look at it then.
I mean, it's just, he has to, you have to think about,
Agree
and
that
he
that
might
is
not,
close,er to
he
what
might not
is
even approve
passing
that.
these
Yeah.
days.
Right,
We're
and if you
And-
wanted to put in lattice work, you can put in lattice work because it's not a solid wall.
right.
You
Right.
could
Well, I
find
don't
ways
know.
to
I mean, I
provide
think we have to
screening.
all come to some understanding of what this connector is, so that people
It
don't
is-
keep running into
it is
this
not this.
situation. And
It is
it's
not one
this.
big roof doubling your square footage. Or
Okay.
actually, in this case, making it 6 times as large as it can be. Because they
Well,
were
you-
asking for how much square,
It could be this
No,
large,
no,
but
no.
he has to subtract it from his garage,
Right.
his future
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah, no,
That's right.
it's not making it 6 times larger.
well, Market says it's 320 square feet, and how many square feet?
It was
They
78 on
applied
the
for
building
78.
Yeah,
Code.
permit,
so
320.
so 4.5, sorry, my math was off.
That's all right. I'm not gonna hold you to that. Could we continue a month then?
That's fine with me.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Would he, would
What would
they
we
even have to
continue
come
it
back
for?
here if they
Right, if they
modified
make
their
it
plan?
Well,
compliant.
because I'd like to,
Well, you can-
I want
You
to
can
be able
continue
to
it.
talk to my client, tell him what he's gonna have to do and see what he
Well, he
wants.
can withdraw the application if he doesn't want to come back, but we can continue.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we
that's what
can
I'm saying.
absolutely continue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
All right, I'll make a
All
motion
right,
to
back up.
continue.
You're making me nervous.
So I'll make a motion to continue till next month's meeting.
You wanna open to the public?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, does anybody in the public want to speak about this? No. Okay, it is, okay, yeah.
So my concern about this is, we view it in the context of a cabana, and maybe the bylaw needs to be changed to limit it to a cabana, but I can see a situation where someone covers their whole lot.
Exactly.
ta- that's what
Doing
we
this,
talked
and
about.
It's not really, you know,
I-
it's not
You can do with a
addressed.
gazebo.
I think
Yeah.
it came up actually on another project where
Absolutely.
it was a house. And
Exactly,
we,
that's what I'm
didn't it
saying.
come to us as a house being connected?
Change this
I
whole.
don't remember
Yes.
that.
There was
Diamond
something that
shape,
came
the
to us, it
little
was
thing
like
on top, call it
a
a
separate
gazebo.
building with a huge roof that connected to the main house. And we
Yeah.
were saying like, boy, I mean, you could just build a bunch of open, you know,
Where was open pulpus or something?
yeah. And it just seemed like it just opened up the ability to, you know, we're all creative, where we're trying to, you know, figure out ways around the bylaws. I mean, that's what people
Well,
do,
it's not
and
even trying to find a way around the bylaw. That's what I take objection to. I think,
well,
you know, as a
interpreting,
layperson,
yeah.
building wise, but as a lawyer, reading the bylaw, things have a meaning to me, and they're obviously different. The way Marcus looks at it is different from the way, as a code enforcement person, looks at it differently than I do as a lawyer, than you do as an architect, than you do as a builder. You know, it's all, we need to come to some understanding of what this bylaw means. And it's sort of frustrating to go in and have a conversation with people at Plus and say, yes, we passed this amendment to the bylaw specifically to address the issue that happened out on blah, blah, blah. So
That's
that
hard to
now this
believe
can
that
be
they would
done,
do that.
and then have the thing,
How our bylaw has been written.
right? Now,
Yes.
not at my request, by the way, but that's what happened.
Well, I don't think
Then-
if that was the intention, they didn't do a good job.
Well, I believe that I've been told that that was the intention. Then,
Yeah, it came right after we rejected one of these.
Right.
I think
Which-
that's what
Correct.
it was,
I-
to address it, but they didn't.
They didn't
They
address
did
it
a poor
properly.
job.
They did a poor job.
Not only
Right.
should they not have done it, but they did a poor job when they
well,
did do it.
well, right, so now it's in there, and so people read it and they say, okay, an unenclosed roof connector
Porch.
or porch, but an unenclosed roof connector doesn't count towards ground cover. I mean, it's what it is.
You're. I don't want to get into this too much, but you're reading it literally. But this reads as one building.
It's not a connector.
It does not look like a
But
connector.
it doesn't say that the roof has to be connecting two separate buildings. And of course, I'm reading it literally.
Well,
I'm
of
a
course it has to.
lawyer.
A
That's what I
connector
do.
connects two separate structures.
Connector connects things.
By
Connecting,
definition.
right, a connector has to connect at least two things.
Or can connect two sections of a building.
Yeah, but this is
But then-
connecting
but
two
then-
sections of the building and then some.
Right.
Well, okay, I'm not even arguing about this particular building anymore. I'm just really just talking about what the bylaw says.
I thought we were gonna continue this.
Yeah,
We
let's
are,
continue it.
But I
let's.
think we need to come, I mean.
Well, we're not coming to that agreement
not
today.
But I think as a community of professionals, we need to come to some understanding of what this bylaw means.
Well, yeah, and,
So
I
that-
agree with you because it maybe is confusing, but I think at least I see the intent of the bylaw as very different as how it's being interpreted, and maybe even by the Plus Department. That wasn't the intent of the bylaw, wasn't to allow people to build larger and larger structures with just enormous roofs over them and these tiny little things in the center.
But maybe that was the intent of the bylaw.
Well, it shouldn't be then. I mean,
I don't think it's our, and again, if you're lucky enough to not have to come here and you get
Right.
somebody who agree with you, have at it. But I don't
Right.
think that's the ZBA's feeling.
No, but I don't think you can also impugn intent to the bylaw.
No, we're not.
Well,
Right. We
yeah,
don't want
okay.
to impugn
Actually.
intent.
okay.
I think
Just
part
like
of
no
No
density.
definition of connector, unenclosed porch is defined. An unenclosed appendage, whether roof covered or not, projecting from an exterior wall or walls of a structure.
That's a porch.
Unenclosed porch may connect portions of a single building, roof, or two or more buildings. That's the definition of an unenclosed porch. This is not
This is not an unenclosed
an
porch.
appendage at all.
I didn't,
And we have no definition of connector, but
Well, unfortunately,
shy of having one, I feel confident in my ability to recognize what a connector is versus a single structure.
okay, so for now, we're not doing anything other than voting to continue to January 10th.
okay,
I'm not here.
thank you.
January 10th, by the way.
All right, well, since Lisa has a,
It's
yeah,
okay. There are a lot, there's, you can go ahead with the other members of the board. I don't have to be here.
I
okay.
mean, yeah,
Well, you have a particular expertise in the architectural field.
I do.
Put that in the minutes, Terry, that I said that.
When we come back, the appeal is that this structure
Maybe we
is
should vote on the appeal.
not 320 square feet, it's 78 square feet.
Yeah.
Um, What will we be discussing?
Right. I think maybe we have to vote on this.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Because the reason that we're continuing it is so that I can have a discussion with my client, which I cannot do.
He might reduce the
will not
size of
begrudge
the garage.
He
right?
might decide,
But then if
he has all sorts of
He has all
decisions to
sorts of
make.
options.
yeah, if he
Well,
reduces the size of the garage, he doesn't need to be here.
Yeah,
because
he-
then
It's
he's
fine with me
right.
if she wants to go out in
Yeah.
the hallway and talk to her client.
and then come
we
back
can do
in.
another
Yeah, that's-
application in between.
I'd rather continue
Okay.
until January.
Yeah, okay, we'll continue to January for now. January 10th, 2019.
Thank you.
We haven't voted on it yet,
I'll make a
but
motion.
thank you. You seconded it? Any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Can I have your green notes?
Michael?
I'm actually going to show them to Ray because it's so ridiculous.
Oh, can you scan
I'll
that
take a
and email
picture of
to
it.
me?
Okay.
So I just have it for the next.
Ed,
Because
Yeah.
I'll save mine, but I want yours.
smells like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
This or walks like a duck or something. I got that all wrong, I think.
Is that, doesn't it sound like a duck?
Sounds like a
It sounds, it's supposed to be sound.
And
Oh,
walks.
I will.
Yeah. Your senses, your identification of the duck.
I knew I didn't have it right. Don't put that in the minutes about the duck. All right, 4718 RC knows. Oh, we're gonna take a minute. He probably won't come back.
It shocks me because we shot two of those down, and yet he comes down with exactly the same flipping plan.
What's that? I'm not. I don't live, I'm too far
But they
away.
were the same width as the roof between them.
I think we can move forward. They're probably having a little powwow. Okay, 4718 RC Nosegay LLC, 0 Sanctity Road, for the applicant. Hello.
Looks like it's just me here for some reason, but my name is Yurai Benkat.
Did you think somebody else was going to be here?
Yeah, I think so.
Like the attorney?
Not the attorney, but actually the builder and pretty much the builder who actually I was in touch with, and he was going to explain.
Do you want to continue it?
We can discuss it. Sure.
Okay,
So-
go ahead.
So, yeah, for,
Hey, Marcus.
pretty much we are looking for either a special permit or variance from what we have now, where the building or the basement walkout from the building was built in the setback, which for some reason there was a confusion about 5-foot and 10-foot setback. We ended up actually creating a basement walkout which is about 6 feet. I think it's around 6 feet from the property line. So we are trying to pretty much get approved what is built right now, and
It's supposed to be 10 feet off the property line.
I don't know.
It's part of the foundation.
Not really necessarily change the setback as it's in the application, but just getting the current as-built approved.
Is this in the area?
There was.
Oh,
actually-
I'm sorry. I thought he was
Yeah, I'm
finished.
sorry.
Are you finished? No?
Just one more thing. There was an outdoor shower actually built, and there was a little step and little deck built in place where there is the basement walkout right now. We just built it pretty much right under and made it a little bigger, but it's not really going much further towards or past the 5-foot setback.
Okay.
So my question was, is this in an area, you can, side yard setback has been reduced in this area to 5 feet via special permit, right? This is not a-
You can
You can do
have a
it,
special permit.
kind of where,
That's the relief they're seeking.
Yeah.
Correct, not
Right.
variance.
No, it's special
it's
permit.
special permit.
And you could issue a special permit for the staircase and not the shower.
The shower, at least in the pictures that we were sent late, didn't have a base that I could see.
You mean didn't have a structural deck?
That's the old one, I think.
Yeah, these were in the packet, that's not what, yeah, that's
the
prior
old
to,
one.
yeah.
The new one, I don't think has does the deck magically
just came up?
Here,
appear?
it's in here. Is it in here?
No, we got them late today.
They came from
Is
the
it this
abutter.
one from the abutter, these ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
what time was that?
What time was it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I get so many emails from Eleanor.
10:21.
Here, I have them
10:21.
here. She printed them out.
10:21? Yep.
Yeah, it looks like it's on stone, it's hard to tell, but it
Looks like there's bluestone in the new
Anyway.
shower,
Yeah,
Isn't that funny?
because it's definitely at grade, like,
There it is.
Yes, 10:20.
You got yours before us? Doesn't seem right. Anyway, it would be the same basic
permit.
relief.
yeah.
There were complaints from the neighbors about this. One seemed to have more to do with the fact that the applicant's privet hedge is not on their property line and is in the middle of Nosegay Lane. So we could condition it on that being corrected. Assuming that's the case. It's hard to tell from the as-built. And then there was another one.
Let me ask him.
There's something somewhere about 2 schools of surveying. Did I read that on this application?
I don't remember that.
And these staff reports.
Oh, the staff report?
There was the Chip Park survey circa 1994 done in connection with the CO for the initial structure, initial dwelling, which shows the unaltered elevation of the structure to be 10 feet, whereas on Blackwell's current, it's 9 point something, and
Oh, I didn't pick that up. So, why? Just out of curiosity, how did you get a building permit? With the, you got a building permit for this.
The building permit, yeah, that's also the reason. I mean, I don't know, we got it.
Do we have
We
that?
applied for it this way, and we got it approved, and there was no, actually, nobody
Is this it?
even pointed at the setback issue.
That was the
During-
existing condition
during the
before they did all this work
application.
back here.
What year was this work done?
It was 2 years ago.
2016 ish.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So this was within.
That was before.
You did not wrap the roof around the corner though.
No, it just the basement walkout and the shower.
All right, where does it ask about the side?
That part of the application's not here. They only gave you 2. There should be 4. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
It's
there
in the
for-
back.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm in
right
it.
here.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't.
This is from property line, no change.
Yeah, which is not true. There was definitely a
Because
change.
they added the outdoor steps.
Well, in the shower,
Well,
looks like
the
it's deeper
walkout.
too.
Yeah. that's-
And this application contemplated a bump out around the corner, but it was all based on this. Well, they then removed it.
if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I had a long conversation
They
with
removed it.
the owner of the lot to the north.
The butters.
Correct, and the photos that I forwarded to you with the 2 emails came from her children. She doesn't have a computer, she's elderly. I
Good
did
for
speak to
her.
her quite a long time, and she said that she had a gentleman's handshake agreement with the previous owner for an outdoor shower that I believe was not permitted. And the current owner, who bought a couple of years, 3-4 years ago, wanted to
Interesting that
relocate
this
that outdoor
says
shower,
10
but it
feet.
would not have been shown on the Chip Park plan because it either wasn't built then or was subsequently built without.
Yeah.
I don't know what the configuration of that shower was, if it had a base or anything like that, but there was apparently an outdoor shower on that side of the structure.
What does it show? Does it show 5 or 10?
5. All right. You're right. Your plans say the sideline setback is 10 feet. Yet on the site plan you drew 5 feet.
I know, yeah. That's what is confusing there. I know it was 10 feet. For some reason, I don't remember why exactly. We actually went with 5 feet. on the
Where is
plan.
that that you're looking at?
I think
On
there
page-
was some
10 feet.
communication,
And then it
email
shows 5
communication
feet.
with the owner. She said there is a 5-foot setback and wanted us to continue with working with a 5-foot setback. Because our attorney told me.
And you thought it was a good idea to believe her?
I don't remember why I did it really, honestly. I mean,
Okay.
I put the 10-foot setback there, and I don't know why. But then also, interesting thing is it got approved. We never got any setback issues during the building permit application, so we kind of didn't think about there will be a problem after.
Yeah, it's an interesting question that if you slip one, and I'm not saying you tried, but if you slip one by the building department, who's responsible? The building department?
But you actually wrote, didn't the application say no change
No
to this?
change, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
which was not
it's
factual either.
I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well,
What's
I
the
think-
date
I
on the
think
building
if
permit
there's
application?
Complicity with the building department, if they make a mistake and the applicant makes a mistake. I
May
mean,
11th.
There's a stronger argument for
This
relief.
was,
After.
this was way after.
I guess I don't
This might have
disagree
been
with you, but
truthful
it's
and then it
it's
just
a
wasn't
slippery
amended,
slope.
but-
Hey, let's try to get one through.
I don't know anyone, I personally don't know anyone who has ever, maybe because I'm so paranoid about ever having to show up
Yeah,
here,
amen.
that I don't know anyone that would do it intentionally. I don't know them, maybe you do, I don't.
No, I'm not saying I do. I'm just no. I'm simply saying it doesn't. It's hard when you give the building department erroneous information and expect them to vet or maybe the expectation is they're supposed to vet every bit of the info.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Even if
one
you
would
try
hope.
to, I'm not saying here, fleece the building department.
I mean, because argue, yeah, whatever. We don't have to talk
Can I ask you a
hypotheticals.
question, Yuri? The,
Also,
can I ask you a question? The permit amendment here, when you amended the permit, what was that? Was it, can I just show you this? Was it this part here?
What page are you on?
I'm on 240.
Because sometimes it says, yeah, it says,
238, 240, it says right here.
yeah, it was.
That was an
Okay.
amendment.
It was all those things. Yeah.
Okay, so he,
There was an earlier permit that was submitted.
so he,
First
so,
there was a window well
yeah.
on the north side, and then we changed it to the.
So do you have,
Stairs.
you don't have the original permit that was submitted?
It's in the packet.
The original, not just the amendment?
well, this is it. Add egress windows and
No,
finished
I-
basement.
Right, I was
But
wondering
you
about
mean
the
the
application.
application? Yeah. Well, it probably didn't have the walkout either.
But that's what he amended. He amended
Then he added the
14716 to
walkout.
add the basement
Add
stairs on the
basement
north.
stairs on the north
So
side.
even though the original one said no changes to the,
I got it. Yeah. Well, this is the amended one, and it
It
said
says
no changes.
I was
as
just
well.
curious what the original one had said in terms of the setback.
oh, you mean this the whole
I
application
put that
here
in
is
the staff
new?
report, it was egress window.
Yeah, it says it. An egress window and
No, I was asking
finish the
about if the
basement.
setback had been noted on the original building permit application and what it had been noted as, the building setback in that form, in the section where he says no change.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's not there.
I mean, the bottom line is we certainly have granted the 10 to 5 in this zone before, restricted to only the the thing that's been
Right.
being asked for, no further. You can't take.
Put a roof over, you can't do anything.
You're
You can put a
validating
connector over it.
the as-built.
Yeah, we're validating the as-built. How do we feel about it?
You want to validate the walkout and the shower.
I would validate definitely the walkout. The question about the shower is it on a platform? Or is it on
Here's a
stone?
photo.
It looks
I
like
don't
it's
know
on
if you can see
stone.
this,
No,
Lisa.
I think it's on the stone. It's on the
Yeah, so
stone.
if it's on stone, I don't think
It's
it-
technically a
it's
fence.
technically a fence, and it can be in the setback. You know what I mean?
I can't tell if it's stone or not.
Yeah, I can't either. If it's sitting on, I mean, it's sort of silly. If it's sitting
Yeah.
on decking, then it
Yeah,
can't
it's
be in the
totally
setback.
silly, but
But-
it is what it is.
But, yeah.
I don't think it's sitting on decking. Look at this photo.
Yeah, I think it's on stone.
I think it's
It
on
looks like it
stone,
has
yeah.
like an edge band of pressure treated, then there's gravel, and it must have. I mean, as long, I think I'm okay with it as long as there's no, that's not validating the setback,
No.
other than what's been built today. There's no further expansion into that setback.
Yeah,
on
like
either
if they
side.
wanted to go back to their original plan, which was to wrap the corner around, that's not gonna happen.
Right. It's only on this side, this instance. The window wells do not need relief.
No,
I just want to be clear. It's only the
stairwell.
stairwell.
Do we want to condition?
What about this platform here? That's
Well, that's for the door to get in.
I know, but don't we have to grant relief for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be anything on this side of the building at this point as built, no expansion of it.
It's the structure as a whole.
Yeah, no roof over the porch. I mean, like this landing, you could not add a roof over that door without further relief.
Right.
Yeah.
And that southerly elevation that appears to be now slightly in the setback that wasn't on the chip art plan, I mean, that's,
Are we gonna
Southerly
validate that
elevation?
too?
they didn't change that side.
page is that?
All
The
this.
southerly elevation was not changed. They were gonna do an
That's
egress window, but
encroaching.
they no longer, they did
Where is
not.
it?
Right?
Southerly.
Is there one egress window?
There's window. There's
Yeah,
a
so
window,
we should do something about that
Well,
corner.
It's not asked for. in the request.
No, it is. It's that, so validate the as-built.
Oh, okay, all right, that's cool.
Oh, the 9.4 you mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And are we good with the parking?
Yeah, the parking's not on the property. It should be.
But that happens a lot. I mean, the fact that the road layout is,
I get it.
You're
I'm
not-
saying, are we validating this plot plan, then we're validating the way the parking works.
yeah, and I think it happens all over the island.
The parking wasn't part of the application, it's the structure.
What do you mean it
It's
happened?
different.
Plot
In a
plan,
place
we're
like Sherman
validating where
Turnpike,
the
the road
parking
layout
is
is
down
much
here.
is much larger than where the road's actually cut. So a lot of people have aprons and parking within the road.
No, they have some portion of it. Obviously, you have to get from the road to your
This
parking.
is his parking.
I'm looking at it. Oh, I wasn't looking at I had to blow it up. All right. Well, I don't think it's right, but
Why do we have to validate the parking? Can't
They're
we
not
just?
asking for
We're
it.
validating the plot plan, the parking's on the plot
Yeah,
plan.
We're only
Why
validating
don't we
the
validate
setback
the structure,
intrusions.
the architecture?
That's not what they're asking for. They're asking
Oh.
for us to validate the plot plan.
I mean, you're supposed to
No,
provide.
That's not correct.
Well, that's what you said.
No, they're asking for a special permit pursuant to bylaw 13916C to reduce the 10-foot side yard setback to 5 or the alternative, and to the extent necessary to validate the as-built siting.
I know, but what if you wanted
Yeah.
to cut
As
cut the
close
road
as
for
6.5
some
and
reason?
9.4.
You're not
Doesn't say by
supposed to
the
do
dwelling,
that.
it says
That's all
by
I'm saying. I
reducing.
mean, obviously it would
But
be.
you would have to have like a 15
If this
foot
is the
apron.
same relief that you just read,
And
it
then
doesn't
20
say
feet
by
apart.
the
This is the
dwelling.
relief that went into the legal ad that has been sent out to the
Alright,
abutters.
so this was the exhibit that you gave us
I mean,
as part of the documents today. That was.
Yeah,
How do
but
we-
that's right. Okay.
All right, how do we feel about the parking? It's not on the lot.
I don't have an issue with it.
No?
I think
Okay.
Lisa's right about pretty much around there, but you live out there, and what are your thoughts?
Well, my thought is you're supposed to show 2 parking spaces on the lot.
What about the hedge?
And the hedge was identified by a neighbor. I think in essence what's happened is they've made their lot bigger by going to the edge of the road, which is not kosher.
Then you should
Yeah.
for the parking spots.
I think
I'm fine with that.
make it kosher. All
Because
right.
I mean, isn't it like if someone asks for relief for something and we find another issue, we can address that issue, right? Or does it have to be in the legal
Absolutely.
ad?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I feel like that's happened before when I can't remember the one.
You can condition it, but they're
Yeah.
not asking for relief as to the
No,
parking.
yeah, they
Right, no, I
didn't
think we
ask.
condition
So
it.
we almost have to condition
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We would either have to
'Cause we don't
condition
want to
it.
ignore it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not sure, I don't know exactly how much of the hedge is in the road, but
Doesn't the DPW
20%
take
of
care of
the-
that?
Yeah,
the properties on the island have plantings in the layout of the road.
I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Well, I agree with you, but if something, the only way you can begin to enforce that is to, well, there's other ways,
The
but
DPW does it, don't they? Go like
Yeah,
I
the
know on.
DPW does do that, because I had a neighbor around the corner from me that, I mean, you couldn't even see their house, and the privet was pouring out into the sidewalks.
Yeah, if there's an
A couple calls are
obstruction,
made, and those things are
they'll
chopped back.
enforce it. If there's
Yeah.
no
They
obstruction,
come and
won't
chop it
enforce
back themselves.
Because I know they did that on across from the cemetery, that dirt road that cuts over. To
yeah, they generally will do it with a complaint. If we don't want to get into it, that's fine. If we want to condition it, I think we can.
I'll do whatever the board wants. I don't feel strongly about
I
it.
don't feel strongly about it
Okay.
either.
All right. You?
I mean, I think if the neighbors have a real problem, this
What's
isn't
that?
the right.
Parking here, on site.
Yeah, the parking on site, I think, is a given. You have to have the 2 spaces on site.
Whether you create it or not, you're supposed to show 2 parking spaces within the bounds of your lot.
Yeah, but we don't necessarily have to go as to whether or not you're going to create
The
it.
surveyor has to show
It
it.
smells like a duck.
Yeah, it smells like a duck, Ed.
That's going to be your legacy now, forever.
Terry's not putting that in the minutes. I was confused. All right, so and the only reason I'm bringing up the privet is because a neighbor specifically asked about it.
I wonder if her privet's in the road.
What's that?
I said, I wonder if her privet's in the road. Probably not, because
Do we
Nosegate
know
goes.
if this owner put the privet in?
No, but I don't think that matters. I mean, you're supposed to have your privet, your.
Excuse me?
Was over time, I guess, too slow, like replanted, I guess, I'm not sure. I mean, what I know,
Yeah,
only
that'd
did, they replaced, they only did some landscaping, and I think on the property, they didn't move the privet anywhere closer or further from the building. If they did something, they just did where it was before.
Yeah. Well,
But I cannot say really
Okay.
what exactly they did.
All right, well, Eleanor, then, if we're not gonna deal with it, no one seems to wanna deal with it, will you just, send that particular person an email?
The north of Butter?
The one about the
Yeah, no, the south of Butter, the
Well, to the east.
Kellers or whatever their
Kellers
name
to
is.
the east of
The
this.
one who complained about the privet. I guess it's not our purview, and,
Yeah, I did send an email. I actually included my response in the
Okay.
staff report.
I didn't see
And I
that.
did hear back from them and said thank you for your explanation.
And did you suggest they go to the DPW?
No, I can do that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
I didn't see it.
No, they're pretty good about privet.
I mean, it is a private way, so I'm not so sure. What the DPW can do there?
Ah, good point. Maybe they owned a halfway, you're saying?
They would own to the middle of the road if it's a private
Butter
way.
private way.
You're sure that Nosegate Avenue is a private? Okay, so we'll leave the privet alone. All right, so does somebody want to make a motion to grant the relief as requested, which is basically to validate the,
I wanna ask the public if they-
you guys want to talk about this? No. Thank you, though. So with the condition about the parking, that to show have two parking spaces on their lot.
I'll make that motion.
So you want a new as-built that shows the two dimension parking spaces on the lot?
Yes, please.
So you understand that Jeff needs to get a new plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff can do it right now.
Yep, scribble it up. Okay, so that's the motion. Who made that motion?
I did.
Kieran. Who wants to second it?
I'll second.
Susan, thank you. Any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
So wait, who's sitting on this, please?
We'll go right down the road here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The regular members. Why are you confusing me? All right, so that was unanimous, correct?
Yes.
All right, next.
Very good at getting unanimous decisions, Mr.
The
Chairman.
only thing.
It would make Bill Sherman very happy, God bless him.
I know, like we had a little.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
He died
he
recently.
did, maybe three weeks ago. He liked unanimous decisions. Even if you didn't want to vote, he would ask you to vote either for or against,
I'm not sitting on
depending on
this.
which way the bill was going. Maybe
I remember Bill.
great veteran court.
Yeah, man. I'm not sitting on O'Connor either.
Okay. Thank you.
So Susan, you're up.
Okay. I just took that off, sorry. Which one is that?
Irwin?
Scott O'Connor. Too hussy.
Page 251.
I'm missing a
48.
page. Oh, here it is. Too hussy, right? So what's this? Okay, sorry. Okay, this application is 48-18 Scott T. O'Connor, 2 Hussey Street, Mike Wilson representing.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Michael Wilson for the record on behalf of your applicant, Scott O'Connor. The locus, 2 Hussey Street, which is in the commercial downtown district. The property is pre-existing non-conforming as to lot size, created back in '64, parceled off by variance in 1979. You can see the structure really sits within 0.02 feet of the rear southerly lot line. What the applicant's proposing to do would technically expand the non-conforming nature because it would be increasing along that 5-foot setback and enclosed space, but it won't be going any closer to the southerly lot line. On the northerly lot line, which faces Hussey Street, he's hoping to enclose what's an existing covered entryway to make a 23 square foot mudroom. There'll be no expansion of the footprint. And on the easterly side, he's proposing to enclose an existing area under a second floor covered porch, which would become the dining room, and that is 125 square foot. No change really with respect to the ground cover on that, if we're calling the roofed area ground cover. So there is ample ground cover available, and that is the requested relief. There's some photos in there to show you both the northerly, the very small change that would be perceived from the public walking by. The easterly, won't be able to see it at all. I realize these are probably issues that go to the aesthetic, but it should really result in no net change to the neighborhood or the integrity of the style of the other structures in the neighborhood. So it's going to be keeping in zoning. And then with respect to the proposed pergola, which would come off of the area that they would enclose to create the dining space, that will move toward the easterly lot line, but it won't have any impact with respect to the setback, because that's 0 in that zone. Taking areas that are presently roofed and just enclosing them. Is in summary.
Is this a duplex?
At one point, it had benefited from 2 dwelling units in it by variance when it was, before Mr. O'Connor purchased it.
Okay, because I was going to say there was no interior staircase between the first and second floors in the existing floor plans. That's why I asked the question. So it had to be 2 dwelling units.
Yes, it was originally actually the first
So are you
floor was
changing the
garage.
use from a duplex to a single-family dwelling as well?
That
permitted
was
use.
already done. That was already done.
All right.
Historically, it was a garage on the first floor,
Right.
the dwelling above,
Mhm.
and then it was converted to 2 units, the garage space being converted to residential. Now it's been permitted in just 1 dwelling unit, it's his residence. So the those variances are referenced in the application.
Do you guys have any questions?
Just a question, the 23 square foot enclosed area, the only relief you need there is because the rest of the project is pre-existing non-conforming?
I suppose you can call that the expansion of the pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah.
It's not.
Because everything you're doing there seems to me like it's allowed.
Correct.
You're not in the setback, you've got
It's
the ground
within the
cover.
5-foot rear setback, so it's work going on within it, but the footprint doesn't take
Not,
it
well,
any
that,
closer.
but not this work.
Not the front,
Yeah.
no, there should be a photo in there that shows you how you
Yes, I
enter
saw it.
the front door. You're under the main structure per se. You'd just be enclosing it because you kind of enter the building by taking a right. So if you see the photo that has the number 2 in the rear of the vehicle, the door is to your immediate right when you walk. So that's the space that will be enclosed. The wall behind it is what's creating that space that would be the new dining area.
So it would appear that the corner of the 23 square foot structure, because of the skew on the property line, is going to be closer than 5.3 feet to Hussey Street at the end of the day.
Isn't that 0 setback?
Yes.
So 0
I'm
on
just
front and side.
saying,
Yeah.
right.
5 is to the rear. So I think really the technical expansion is by increasing the area that is enclosed, that is within the 5-foot rear setback.
Is he
But
gonna
it's already there.
Is he going to hand dig the foundation work for the larger addition?
That's a slab on grade that
Oh, it's slab on
exists.
grade?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
good.
there
All
already.
right.
That's covered dining space. He's
Great.
closing his
Okay.
picnic table and turning it into his dining room.
Gotcha.
So you're not gonna change the foundation at all?
No, there's no expectation of that, and I think
Probably going to build a sleeper system on top of it and raise the floor level to match what's inside.
I do believe there's a step down. He's a builder,
So
but I
he's
don't.
got to insulate it, so he's got to raise it.
Right.
So that's probably what he's contemplating.
Is anyone else here to speak about this one? Any concerns?
Oh, I don't have any concerns. I'll make a motion to approve with consideration of the moratorium that we usually impose.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Anyone want to second that? You'll second it? Okay. All those in favor?
Do you want to establish the moratorium? We always sort of specify.
Oh,
It's
sure.
the same one as
Yeah, whatever we do, I just want to make sure we're consistent because I've had a couple complaints from different people.
Well, sometimes we do June 15th to Labor Day, sometimes we do Memorial Day, sometimes we do the Thursday before,
Memorial Day.
or Memorial Day through Labor
Is
Day.
it Labor Day?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big a project that it couldn't get.
May be able to get it done before Memorial Day. I think
Yeah.
is hope. It's already gone through HDC on this.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great.
Did you take the collective vote?
Was that the vote to
I think
close
we
the
did
public
take-
hearing, or
Oh,
was
that's
that
right.
voted?
I think we did vote,
First,
didn't we?
second, and then I thought we voted.
I thought we
we
voted.
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was unanimous.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. All righty. 4918 Richard Snowden and Catherine Snowden, 11 Mass Ave.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. For the applicant's attorney, John Brecher. What we have before us is a request to expand a pre-existing non-conforming structure. The applicants, Richard and Catherine Snowden, own 11 Mass Ave. By virtue of certain title number 27051 and a deed in 1665 page 1 of the registry. What you have before you is a locus that contains a single story, single family dwelling. It's non-conforming with respect to the front yard and side yard setbacks of VR. It's as close as 0.7 feet from the front yard lot line. In a district that's going to require a 20-foot setback and as close as 9.4 feet from the easterly lot line on a district that requires a 10-foot setback. Everything otherwise conforms to the intensity regulations of the VR zoning district, and the structure was constructed prior to 1972, so it is considered grandfathered and is therefore pre-existing non-conforming structure. So they're requesting special permit relief from zoning bylaw section 13933A1 to allow the single-family dwelling to be either demolished or reconstructed and altered as shown on the plan attached as Exhibit B, entitled Proposed Condition Site Plan, prepared by Mr. Blackwell. As you can see on the site plan, as a result of the alterations, the structure will be conforming with respect to the side yard setbacks. They're going to cure that non-conformity, the one on the east, that is. And they will be increasing the height slightly because of the floodplain. It will still, it is a single story, it will still be well under the 25 feet allowed in the VR zoning district. And there will be an expansion, as you can see, towards the front, which is ultimately going to be if you look on the approved HDC plans, it's going to be a garage. So all other alterations are going to be outside the setbacks, and except for the one in the front, and it's going to be no closer to the lot line than the existing structure. The alterations have been blessed by the Historic District Commission by COA 71136. We are at Concom and filed the notice of intent for this. I'm not sure if the plan with the highlighting made it into your packet or not, but
It's what you're thinking of, 11 by 17.
good with the nice yellow highlight, so you can see where the 50-foot buffer zone is. So there really isn't a chance for them to move the house further back towards Creek or Marsh or wherever that is. So really, given the constraints of the wetlands, the property is limited as to the location of any possible expansion. They've done so many of these alterations outside of the setback. They're curing the easterly setback nonconformity, and they are adding this massing in the front yard setback for the garage. As such, would say that the proposed reconstruction or renovation, because it's not going to be any closer to the lot line than the existing structure, will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming. If you have any other questions, happy to answer them, and Mr. Blackwell is here as well if you have any technical questions for him.
John, did the HDC give you the option to deconstruct and reconstruct the entire structure?
I believe that they did, and I would ask Mickey Rowland, but he is, I'll explain in the next application, he is actually off island. But I believe that is, I think they have gone and that they can do either the reconstruction or the renovation.
You say reconstruction, it's not a dismantling and rebuilding, it's a demolition.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, it would be a demolition and reconstruction.
Just want to make sure that that's clear.
No, sorry, just the number.
All right, the garage is going to remain a garage?
It's being expanded forward.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a garage.
But it's going to be a garage.
Correct.
Yeah,
So you get at least one parking space on the lot?
Correct. And
Since we just said you had to have them.
yes, that's right.
And what is the required parking out there?
I assume it's two.
Now, I should say the interesting aspect of this, if you look at the site plan, they own, the septic
lot.
system is across the street, and they own the lot across the
Oh,
street
they
as
still
well.
have this one too.
Yeah, well, again, that's not on the lot.
So
but
I think they would, I think the intention is to have the garage on that, and if
Yeah,
needed,
the lot
to
line is
apply to planning for any garage or any parking on the lot across the street that they own.
Has the septic system always been across the street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They usually park their boat over there. The former owners did.
Okay. Is there, what do you think? Anybody have any questions? Jeffrey, did you come to speak about this? I feel like you're here. You ought to say something. I'm kidding. You're good.
That's conclusive evidence to his client that he was here.
He's on the tape. I mean, it's obviously a unique situation out there.
So this is special permit still though, because it's existing non-conforming, right?
Yeah. What's the specific relief they're asking for, Eleanor?
Alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming structure. Pursuant to 13933A.
And they're asking
For a height.
to release the building from the foundation.
Right, so it
Demolish-
will be a vertical
Yeah.
increase in the setback, front yard setback, and horizontal as well, but not getting closer than the existing.
And curing the side yard setback encroachments, if I recall
That's
correctly.
correct. That's for the side yard.
So are they in the flood zone? They're just out of it, it looks like, right?
Just out of zone X.
So how far are they raising the house out of the ground? They're not required to raise the house. Or are they?
I'll defer to
The
Mr. Black.
proposed elevation is 10.20 feet, and the threshold elevation is 9.0 feet,
The existing threshold?
right in the footprint.
Oh, right, I see it now. Thank you.
So yes, the house is going to be elevated.
How
How much? That's what I don't see. How much?
Threshold elevation.
What page are you on,
Just the
Susan?
big, the 11 by 17 one.
It's definitely raising more than a foot based on the elevations.
You're on
If I may,
290
I'm Jeff Blackwell for the applicant.
We have the COA. that tells
I
us.
put together information about the flood zone and the required increase in
You
building.
didn't want to speak? You got all this information.
You didn't. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe one short.
Okay, but,
9 plus 1 is 10, so we need 10,
Right.
2.
so the,
14 inches of floor
In
structure.
speaking with John in the back, I was not aware that the application that submitted for a increase in height of 2 feet. The building is partially in the A zone, so that it is required to come up. But the increase in height only really needs to be about 9.5 inches. I think the 2-foot figure might have been provided by the architect in error. So it's 9.5 inches really is the height increase
Oh, I
that's
see.
required to satisfy the
flood
female
zone
requirements
wraps down
and
like
and the
this.
building
Mhm.
code
Okay.
requirements.
so it is in the zone. Okay. I didn't
So
notice
what-
that
what
the
is
zone
the-
A, the zone A wraps down, and the garage section is what's in the flood zone.
That's
I
correct.
thought it went straight across. Okay.
What is the existing floor elevation?
9.4 it says.
9.4, we only need to go up to 10.2.
All right, and that's what you're proposing to do, go up to 10.2, not the additional 2 feet.
Yes, you're proposing to come up 0.8 of a foot. You don't need to go the full 2 feet.
All right, so we should just.
It should, yeah, the elevations would look different than, but if we're not attaching the elevations to the approval. Because I think these show the floor going up much higher. The architectural plans, it looks like it. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to the front door. Versus 1, 2, 3 steps.
It's going up 14 inches instead of, yeah, I think that's just a drawing error.
Oh, the grade is different. Oh, okay. As long as I guess the threshold is
Well, they have to meet the threshold, which is 10.
10.2.
And you're going to be at 10.2.
Right.
Right, the 0.2 of a foot is in there to give the builder the flexibility when they raise this building up. Who knows what they're gonna find? They
that
may
makes
need to
sense.
go to engineered lumber.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
basically,
fine.
we're giving them 14 inches from the top of the foundation to the finished first floor for who knows what they're gonna find.
All I
Make
was
a
saying is that
mistake.
that looks very different.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm just, as long as it's, if it's noted by the threshold elevation that's presented on the plan, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable pegging it to Jeff's plan
Yeah.
with the threshold information on it
Right.
versus the,
HGC drawings.
which may or may not even be the I mean, they're not the stamped HTC drawings.
Yep.
So, and then the ridge shape doesn't, well, it does change.
It does change, but
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
actually- it's-
and so what is the top of the ridge going from the 10.2? Do you know?
I don't have that information.
But all of that is outside the setback.
Oh,
The major highest part of the roof is compliant.
Right.
It's only this section of the garage that's in the setback.
And a little bit over behind that, I think.
I
But
thought that was all compliant now. Isn't it just the garage that's in the front yard
I
setback?
think this is being added, this little fill in here.
Oh, yeah, but that's, I think, one story.
Yeah, I don't have any real problem with it, but I see what you're saying. So they could do whatever they want within reason over there.
In here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You okay with that?
Yeah. Yep, that's fine.
Anybody have any other questions? No? So what do we want to do?
As far as the elevation, or?
Yeah, or grant the relief as requested with the floor elevation pegged at 10.2?
Sure.
And you're confident with that 10.2 number?
Yes.
Okay.
And the grade in front of the house, I'm just looking at this, it looks like it exists at 7.6. that right? Yeah, so it's to be 42 inches out of the ground, divided by 7. That's still 6 steps, yeah. So that's fine, so the drawings are probably accurate then.
Yeah.
Maybe the as-bills were.
Does it make any sense for us to require applicants who state that they're going to do something to a specific height to certify that? I guess you would have to certify it to the building department.
Well, Concom's gonna request that as part of the closing the filing, the flood elevation, finished floor
Okay.
elevation.
But I think Marcus would if it's part of his ZBA.
Yeah.
It would be
If
part
I
of the
could-
documents that go in for the CO.
Okay. Go ahead.
If I could, what I'm finding is someone in my position laying out structures that have received relief, and there's a decision that's issued which Marcus relies upon to enforce, issuance of the building permit and then a C of O at the end, is Marcus will take a number, and if it's shown as, if it's a zoning setback number, let's say it's 5.8 feet in a 10-foot setback, Marcus doesn't care about the plus or minus. If it's not exactly 5.8, he will happily send an applicant back to you at the end of his project for relief of half an inch. I guess what I'm getting at is, if there's any way for the zoning board of appeals decisions to reflect the real world imperfection of human endeavor, it could save you paperwork and effort to maybe bless these minor dimensional differences that builders especially are well known to
Are you pointing at me, sir?
No,
I didn't think so.
I'm pointing at the universe.
Well, I think if they're trying to set it at 10.0 and they arrive at 10.2, isn't that why the 10.2 is there?
Right, now, I don't think Marcus would take a number that's below, let's say it ends up at 10.1 and
Yeah, he's not gonna
beat us
question
over the
that.
head with it and make us come back.
You know, my suggestion to the surveying world would be is if you're not comfortable with the 10.2 and the human imperfection out there,
Is it too late for you to recuse?
go to 10.4 next time so you actually have some wiggle room, because 14 inches gives you what? The 2 by 12 plus the sill.
It's 2x8 structure on a building like that.
Anyway, it's up to you.
Well, I mean, then that might argue that you, instead of allowing just a minimum of 10.2, you give us the leeway of 10.4 in your decision. And that way, there would be no chance.
Well, we're not doing that, but because you didn't ask.
Why'd you bring it up then?
Do you have the ability on a plan like this to take your first floor height to the building department and submit before the first floor walls go up?
I can certainly, if.
Only because there is something in the zoning bylaw that gives you the right, you don't have to go through the variance process. If you have the elevation or the shape of the building with setbacks delineated on a plan after the foundation goes in.
Yeah, but I don't think that has to do with height. I think it has to do with the setbacks.
And sometimes the bank.
Is it the variance, any variance, or a variance where it's over the height restriction that it would come back to us?
This wouldn't come back necessarily because
Any variance,
Could
so,
be to the property lines, you know, if you
Right.
granted relief,
Right.
we have to be
well,
precisely no more than that. It doesn't allow for a quarter of an inch or half an inch
yeah,
variation.
I guess the answer there is don't push it
Yeah.
Yeah.
close to the limit, either
The
height
only
or-
thing that you, once the foundation's in, you wouldn't be able to know what the run was on a set of exterior staircases in terms of the first step as in relative to the setback. But other than that, you'd know that the main body of the house met all the
That's
setbacks.
compliant. And the finished floor would be compliant.
Yes.
All right, I think we're digressing into an area that,
If everyone did that, our load would be half of what it is.
I mean, I guess I thought that you had said that you were asking for 10.2 for some wiggle room.
He is, B2.
that's what he said
So now
specifically.
you're asking for 10.
He said that specifically.
I can guess that 14 inches should be plenty
Yes.
with, your sill plate, your floor joist, your 3/4 inch plywood, and your 3/4 inch flooring. I don't know engineered lumber, so Ed and Mark would have a better, and anybody in the building trade would have a better sense as to whether 14 inches would more than cover most every construction eventuality for
Oh,
framing.
well, we're not even talking about it's the floor height that's the issue. So you're going to work down from that to get to the top of foundation.
You're going to set
So
your
you can
elevation.
take care of the problem by saying this is the top of the foundation. You can give yourself 16 inches. We don't
Put a
care
mud sill at
because
the
it would
top of the
actually then be
foundation.
below
Do whatever you want to
10.2.
make it work.
So
What you
we
need to mark is the 10.195 or whatever, 10.2 elevation, then to count backwards. Your finished floor, your subfloor, your framing, your plates, and that's your top of foundation.
and not try to get it to the 1/8 inch, which I think surveyors like to do.
No, other than ground coverage.
Always
They like
give it a
lots of
shot
room
at
for that. Yeah.
Still got it.
Anyway, let's move on.
So we're going to do it at 10.2.
10.2, yeah, that's up to them to get it right. Okay, so we're granting somebody want to make that motion to grant the relief as requested with the condition that the finished floor height is 10.2?
So moved.
Okay, Karen makes the motion. Anybody want to second it?
Sure.
Susan seconds it. Okay, the regular voting members, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. All right, this should go to Eleanor as a exhibit, and that was actually useful. Okay, 5018, Milton C. Rowland and Roberta M. Rowland, 2 Cottage Court for the applicant.
Good afternoon, the applicant attorney John Brescher, representing Milton C. Rowland and Roberta M. Rowland. Unfortunately, Mickey is unable to be here today, and I suggest that he attend, but yet, believe it or not, his daughter Molly just gave birth to her first grandchild yesterday.
Well, that's exciting.
That's nice.
So, I'll go through the application very quickly, and then he asked me to read a letter into the record to hopefully clarify some matters. Before you is an application to alter a pre-existing non-conforming structures. At 2 Cottage Court, there's currently 1.5-story dwelling, 1-story shed, and 1-story garage. It's conforming to the intensity regulations of ROH, except for frontage, and the shed and the garage are non-conforming with respect to side yard setbacks, and you can see in the site plan they are pretty much as close to 0.1 from the lot line. The district requires a 5-foot setback. Lot and structures all predate adoption of zoning bylaws, so they're grandfathered. So what Mickey is requesting is he would like to alter the shed and the garage and join them as one structure. And so he's going to be adding 27 feet of ground cover. You can see on Teddy King's unstamped plan. But there's a little addition of 27-foot ground cover. Mickey also, and let me back up and say that he wants to convert them to either a garage and a studio or a secondary dwelling. He's not sure which he would like to do at this point, and he would like the option to do either. Exactly. So in addition to altering the pre-existing non-conforming structure by adding this addition to connect them, he's also changing the use of them. Arguably, his garage could stay the same because it's going to be a garage and a studio. That might be a stretch. But obviously, the shed is going to change to suddenly a habitable, potentially a habitable use or a studio. And so all that would require a special permit relief in order to do so. The plans have been approved by the HDC, and I understand that there have been some letters in opposition. I think there was one in favor, and if you'll indulge me, this was Mickey's letter about those. Said, I was hoping to attend the meeting to address the 2 letters from the neighbors. The owners of 3 Cottage Court were apparently more upset about our construction this summer than they let on in our previous correspondence. I feel they have exaggerated the issue, but nevertheless, their concern is specifically about the construction noise over the summer and not really relevant to the proposed change in use of the garage and shed. And by the way, he's assuming that if this is ultimately approved, that certainly there would be this summer work moratorium work done. Their property is at the north end of our property, and the garage is at the far south end, so it will have little to no impact on it. They said, I also met with Priscilla Johnson at 1 Warren Street earlier this week. She was concerned that we wouldn't be enlarging the structure and adding a 2nd floor, which would block her view and light. I assured her that we are simply connecting 2 structures and not going any higher. She seemed to be okay with the project after learning that. And he also met with the neighbors at 3 Warren Street, and they were very enthusiastic about the proposal and said there was very little disturbance during the summer. They were generally very happy to see someone was finally improving the property, which had been abandoned for over 10 years and had become a real eyesore in the neighborhood. They submitted a letter to the ZBA expressing their favor. And said, I explained to both the neighbors at 1 and 3 Warren Street that the ZBA would stipulate that no exterior construction happened during the summer, and if they didn't, I would offer it as a condition myself. So that's where we are with his request. Again, I apologize that he couldn't be here, but obviously it's delayed by other important things. And it's an interesting, I can't say that I have seen, I can recall where the applicant has asked for one or the other with this change of use, but he is asking for that, and if the board sees fit to bless the alteration of the, and ultimate joining of the garage and the shed, that he could either do it as a studio or a studio / garage or as a secondary. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Let's, if everybody doesn't mind, let's start with the notion of the either or. I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the use theoretically is very different. I mean, he shouldn't probably have a bed shown in his studio, just because they're not for sleeping, obviously, by the bylaw. So I think the use is different.
The only thing that I was wondering about that myself is that it's possible, though, that was the use prior to zoning.
I thought it was it's a shanty, like a
Yeah, it's a
shed.
Okay, I know, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called a shanty.
Well, it could be a second dwelling.
But
That's
yes.
what this could be a second dwelling.
This could be the second. Well, it doesn't have 2 means of egress. That's why it's can't be a studio.
Oh, it could be a studio. It couldn't be a second dwelling.
It could be a
without
second
the
dwelling
secondary.
if he put in
Another door.
someplace
Yeah,
else.
I'm just simply. Yeah, I hear you. You're not.
But I'm saying that the use of a studio theoretically is very different than a dwelling, because a studio you're not living in.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
And with a studio, you would not have to put in the fireproof sheathing on the property line side.
Well, it looks like it's all concrete block anyway.
Oh, the
Not on the shed portion.
Not on the shed portion.
Yeah.
The
I mean-
So the
Garages.
conversion to a dwelling unit would require fireproofing, which would mean that the footprint or the sheathing material would expand closer. But if we're measuring from the foundation, then it would still be the same if the foundation isn't moving. Just the building,
Yeah.
the volume's getting a little bit larger.
Is the intention to use the structure completely as is, no rebuilding of it per se?
Of which, the garage or the shed?
Both.
Both.
I would be, how about this?
You don't
I'd
know.
be surprised with the shed. I mean, I don't know if you've driven by it. I mean, the structures really aren't in great condition.
Well, the question being, if you're going to have to tear it down, you have all sorts of building
I'm
code
assuming
issues.
It's considered, this
I
is,
don't think
in
they
orange
would
is
tear it
new.
down. I think
Yeah.
you'd work with it.
This is existing.
Yeah, that's the new connector.
That's right. So he's proposing keeping everything along the backside, other than the connector fill-in as existing construction.
My assumption is you're going to keep as much as you possibly can.
Well, again, I mean, we need a little bit more than that, because is he putting a new foundation in, or is the foundation, because then we get into the whole neighborhood, the neighbor thing
Right.
that we've talked
Yeah,
one ad nauseum, I
yeah,
might add.
I don't believe there is any foundation work that needs to be done for this. I mean, obviously, I can confirm with Mickey.
Well, does it make sense, John, to just get our questions out there and then continue this so we can get the answers from Mickey?
That makes sense to me.
Okay, so there's the building issues.
So about foundation and just sort of status of what he's going to do in terms of keeping versus not.
I think he should pick one or the other and apply to, you don't get a
And part of that is
multi-menu.
what did the HDC approve?
They
What was
look-
the scope of work that they
They look
anticipated?
But they look the same.
Yeah, I think they keep the
The elevation is
The
the same.
fenestration, all
Fenestration
this
is the same.
Okay.
It's just whether or not you put the garage here and then have no connector between the garage and the other part of the house. So I don't think the architecture changes at all.
Doesn't he have to submit floor plans
to,
to the HTC?
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying that they don't really look at the floor plans. I mean, they're approving the exterior appearance.
But the application would say new windows, new doors, new siding, new roofing, and all of that, as
Yeah.
opposed to demolish or raise the existing building except for the back wall and build new. That's
Right.
what the application would say to the HDC, which gives some credence to what they've approved and what the intent of this project is.
Right, it looks by this that the shanty is remaining as is. They're obviously taking the wall down as they expand into that little 3-foot section. And then the front of the garage is remaining the same. Whether or not it's a dwelling or not, they're keeping the garage doors. And then they're rebuilding I don't know what direction this would be, the west wall. of the
Mr.
garage.
Chairman, if I may ask a question through you. I know that each application is unique, but for something like this, is it safe to assume that you'd like to see the entire HTC application that was submitted, or at least the approval, so you can see what exactly they are saying and talking about? I'm
Yeah,
nervous
absolutely. We always like to
about
see the
overloading you with
HTC.
paperwork, but okay.
As opposed to, yeah,
Sure.
definitely, in case something changed. Does everybody else feel that they should pick one or the other so we know what we're approving in
Don't we
terms of
have
its
to?
use?
To make
Yeah.
a decision, don't we have to have one or the other? How do you make write a decision?
You have a condition there that they propose change of use to either a secondary dwelling or a studio? I mean, it seems.
Does he-
But does that then mean that they can just, and I'm asking in all seriousness, that they can then just change at will and say, okay,
We've
well,
made
we're gonna
Right.
have a studio, we're gonna
decisions
have this.
that
Yeah.
say you
Yeah,
can,
I'm not
on
going
a
there.
commercial basis, you can either be an office
Yeah,
or
definitely.
retail, but this is a little different.
This is a little
Yeah,
different.
I think you gotta
Gotta
pick.
be more
Okay.
If it were to be another dwelling unit, do you meet the parking requirements on the lot?
It looks like he does.
It would be two.
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question. Do we have a site plan that shows
There's a site plan that
the
shows.
garage and another off-street parking space?
It looks like there's like a
He's
T at the
fine.
end that has
All right.
3 parking spaces.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
leave
usually
that
the
fine.
stumbling block when you start
Yeah.
looking at conversion from studio
Yeah.
to dwelling unit.
How many do you need per dwelling unit? One?
One.
Depends on the zoning district.
Yeah.
Yeah, OHG is one.
But one, generally, okay.
Yeah, so one per each dwelling unit. So
Right, as opposed to, what is it? In
if he
some
wants to do a
districts,
second
it's
dwelling,
per
he's
bedroom.
gonna go back to the HDC for a secondary means of egress or try to
There's
get a
his-
waiver.
Oh, he has a secondary means.
He has a
of it,
secondary
right?
means of
Oh,
egress.
does he?
Yeah.
From the when it's a cottage.
If it's the.
Oh, yeah, okay. But
Bedroom.
then his parking space is gone.
No, but look at the parking. He has parking on the site, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got
He's
this
got stack
little-
parking?
he's
Yeah,
got-
he's got the huge thing.
Okay, all right.
He's
The
got plenty of
other, and the
parking.
other person.
Yeah,
cannot.
yeah.
So I think it's just a question of his methodology for the construction and the use.
And the scope of construction.
Yeah.
as well.
Clearly, I mean, the dwelling would be more
Oh, yeah.
Intense.
intensive. So if there's any question, I suppose he should ask for that. And then would he have to come back here to go to a studio if he already got approval for a dwelling? If he changed his mind and decided to keep the garage? Would he have to come back?
Arguably.
I wouldn't.
I would
No.
think so, because I mean, it's a.
Even though it's a
the
less.
structure is non-conforming, so any change of use, even from
Yeah, I
allowed
guess.
to allowed, ostensibly would be one.
Well, then hopefully, maybe he can decide.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
let's see if he can
I think
decide.
he will. I don't think there's gonna be a problem picking one rather than the other.
Okay. So we'll continue this to January 10th?
9th or 10th?
10th, I think. Yeah? You want to make that motion?
Do I?
Yeah.
I thought you'd never ask. I would like to make that motion.
Okay, Karen makes a motion to continue to January 10th. Anyone a second?
One second.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And happy holidays.
Same.
You too, John.
All right, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Michael, you want to second it?